Abortion is the procedure through which the life of a child in the womb is deliberately terminated. In other words, when an abortion is performed, an unborn child, a human being, is intentionally killed. Those who argue in favor of abortion defend the practice as a woman's right to choose, yet in most cases it's really about avoiding the consequences of other choices. They contend that arguments or legislation against abortion are hostile toward women, as they have to have a right to privacy. Yet privacy should not be used to justify sin. They declare that they have authority over their own bodies, yet they deny the unborn child's authority over his or her own body. They often, but not always, ignore or argue against the humanity of the unborn. Abortion became legal throughout the United States with the Roe v. Wade decision by the Supreme Court in 1973. Since that time, over 60 million abortions have been carried out in the United States. There were 41.9 million abortions worldwide in the last year. In 2015, over 91% of abortions in the United States were performed during the first 13 weeks of pregnancy. However, there are an increasing number of people who will argue for partial birth abortion, even up to the day of the child's birth. But what are some basic Bible principles relating to this? Well, first we see that God is the giver of life. When God created man in the beginning, He formed man from the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living being, Genesis 2 and verse 7. However, this was not just about the first man. God gives life to all men. And Paul pointed this out to the philosophers on Mars Hill in Acts 17 and verse 25, when he says He Himself gives to all people life and breath and all things. Second, we see that God creates life in the womb. The psalmist praised God for this fact. He wrote in Psalm 139 verses 13 through 16, "For you formed my inward parts, you wove me in my mother's womb. I will give thanks to you, for I am fearfully and wonderfully made." When God called Jeremiah to prophesy for Him, He said, "Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you," Jeremiah 1 and verse 5. God knew each one of us before anyone else knew we existed. Third, we see that human beings are made in the image of God. In the beginning, God created man in His image, Genesis 1 verses 26 and 27. And because of this, human life is to be valued and defended, Genesis 9 and verse 6. James said that we are not even to curse others, let alone kill them, because they have been made in the likeness of God, James 3 and verse 9. And then number 4, there is no difference in the humanity or value between a baby in the womb and a baby outside of the womb. When Elizabeth was pregnant and met Mary, Luke recorded that the baby leapt in her womb, Luke 1 and verse 41. After Jesus was born, an angel told the shepherds that they would find a baby wrapped in cloths and lying in a manger, Luke 2 and verse 12. In both verses, the same Greek word is used for the child in the womb and the child out of the womb. As far as human life is concerned, there was no difference between one born and one unborn. And then lastly, we see that murder is wrong. After the flood, God condemned murder and prescribed the death penalty for anyone guilty of murdering one who was made in His image, Genesis 9 verses 5 and 6. One of the 10 Commandments was, "You shall not murder," Exodus 20 and verse 13. And the law would go on to specify that this would even apply to the killing of a baby that was yet unborn, Exodus 21 verses 22 through 25. However, this was not just a command for the Old Testament. Murder is also condemned in the New Testament in Romans 13 and verse 9 and 1 Timothy 1 verses 9 and 10. So what is the bottom line? Abortion is the active and deliberate taking of an innocent human life, one that has been made in the image of God, and therefore abortion is wrong. Friends, we thank you for joining us for our program today, and have a blessed day.